Hey guys, so today you're going to learn how to make a basic object on Inventor. We're going to be making a name tag. And once you've gotten Inventor booted up, you're going to see this home page. So in this home page, we have different sections. New, we can create these different things: part, drawing, assembly, presentation. There are some alternate tabs here which you really won't use all that much. And recent documents, which you may sometimes use. It has all the recent documents you've created in a few days. It'll have everything from parts, drawings, assemblies, and presentations. Alright, so since today we're going to be making an object, we need to create a part. A part is just like if you were to assemble something, you would have a part, so that's kind of how Inventor takes it, and that's why it's labeled. You just click this and open it. I already have it. I already have a blank part open here, so I'm just going to go there. Alright, so once you've gotten your part open, you're going to see something like this, just a blank screen. You might have a grid on it, you may not have a grid on it. It may be a different color, that doesn't really matter. So first thing you want to do always when you create a project is start a sketch, because you need to base your object off a sketch that you've created. So for that, you would go up to the top left corner, and as you can see, okay, alright, so you go up to the sketch and start the sketch. So, and a work plane will show up. So, how do you use this work plane? Well, there's three different options you can choose from to make your sketch on. You have the bottom plane, or the XZ plane, which allows you to build an object from the bottom to the top. You have the XY planes, the one that most of you are familiar with. It makes you build something from right to left in Inventor, and you have the last one, YZ plane, left to right. Mostly won't be using YZ plane, but they have it anyway. You would mostly use the base plane or the XY plane, although it doesn't really matter which plane you use, because you can always adjust the orientation of the object using the view cube over here. So, and let's start our sketch. So you're just gonna click the XY plane, because that's what we're gonna be using today. Alright, it's loaded up, and we've got ourselves a grid to work with. You may or may not have a grid, but you'll have the axes. You'll have the x-axis, the y-axis running up and down, and the origin. It'll be directly in the center of your workspace. Alright. And it's still loading. Alright. Now let's go over to sketch, and let's start sketching our object. Sometimes it'll go directly to it, depends on how you formatted your Inventor or how it's set in your computer. Alright, first thing we want to do, use the rectangle tool. Alright, so as you can see, my units are in inches. If your units aren't in inches, you will need to change them, which I will show you how to do. So you would go over to Tools, and you would go over to Document Settings, and you'd click that, and there's a tab up here. It says Units, and it says Length, which is just, it's asking you for like the units of your length, height, width, stuff like that. You can change between all of these units. Time, mass, angles should be in degrees. We are not doing radians. Radians are very, very large, so we're not going to use radians. We're going to use degrees, so make sure that's set as well. Alright, now let's go back to our sketch. Alright, let's continue drawing our rectangle. So, the rectangle measure should be 3 inches long, and the way you go through everything, like type in your dimensions, is without clicking. You click the first time, drag your rectangle out, leave it, and then you enter your dimensions. To skip over to the height dimension from the length dimension, you would press tab and you would get there, and you would click 1.5 inches. Alright, let's click enter, and this is when the rectangle is actually going to be placed in your workspace. So this, as you can see, is very, very, very large, which we can't really do anything with the rectangle at the moment. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to our view cube here, which is what you call this cube that gives you the different views of the object or sketch. We're just going to click front, and it zooms out, and it zooms to the point where we can see the rectangle. Alright, we're going to constrain this rectangle. Constraint means in CAD, it would mean to restrict the rectangle to a certain position and a certain dimensional value. So length and height. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is go over to the constraint panel over here. And there will be this constraint at the, I guess, middle top of the constraint panel there, and it's going to be called the coincident constraint. What the coincident constraint is, it'll slide any point to another point. So if you click a point and click another point, it'll slide it over and set a position. This is very, very useful for setting position. I'm going to introduce this to you because it's useful to know, but you wouldn't need to do it in this. So we're going to set a position. We're going to click this point right here at the bottom and click the origin. And this point, as you'll see, it'll shift right over into the origin. Boom. So as it's shifted over, now we have a defined position for the rectangle. This is useful, especially when you do more complicated sketches. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do, we're going to create a little circle for a hole once we have given some depth to this object for a keychain hole. Okay, let's do that right now. Alright, so go up to the top, you're going to see the circle tool, click that, and you can start drawing. You can click anywhere and draw a circle, preferably inside the rectangle's area so we can get a better dimension. Start dimensioning. Alright, all circle measures are in diameter dimensions. So all your circle dimensions should be in diameter. So in this case, our diameter is going to be 0.125 inches. And enter, and there we go. We have a circle created. Alright, I'm going to zoom in a bit, which you can zoom in using your mouse by scrolling up. So what you would use to you scroll forward, you push your finger forward, so you scroll forward to zoom in, and you do the inverse to zoom out. Alright, so we're going to go over to dimension, and we're going to click the outside of the circle, which is automatically going to dimension it to the center of the circle, so it is consistent with the entire, like if you dimension to anywhere else. Alright, so how dimensioning works, it'll dimension length, width, height, whatever, but it can also dimension position. So if you were to dimension position, you would just click an object and dimension it to another object. You want to click the object you were dimensioning and click it to another and dimension it to another object. So first click the object you were dimensioning, second click will be the object you were dimensioning to. So what we have here, it says 0.25, that's not what we need. So all we're going to do is click, and it's going to ask us. So we just say 0.20, because that's what we want, 0.2 inches. Alright, we're going to do the same thing for the other side, which will give us the dimension in the horizontal direction. We just did the vertical direction, so it's 0.2 inches again. Alright, now we've got a circle, a hole, more or less, in here. Alright. So now, let's create some text. So we're gonna put, because it's a name tag, so we kind of need a name, or you can really put anything on it, as long as it's school appropriate, of course. So we're gonna go over to text, and it's gonna ask us to create a text box. So let's click, and it'll load. Okay, Never mind, it's not going to ask us to play the text box first. It's going to ask us to type our text first. So I'm just going to type my name. And you can increase the font size over here in this drop down menu. I prefer having it at 0.35 inches. So you can just type in 0.35 and it'll come up, and you guys can choose any font, alignment. I want it to be centered and middle align, and you can choose any of these other bold, underline, highlight, strike through, whatever you want there. And yeah, so I'm just gonna go over here and click OK after I set everything up, and my name shows up. It's really small, but that's not a big deal because we can fix that by either double clicking this again after we've exited text command. We can double click this and go back into the text to edit the height and stuff like that, or we could just drag this and when it drags, or you can always just use the dimension tool, just dimension the text. So we're going to dimension the text box first, and then we can go in and adjust the size. So I'm going to go in and dimension the text box. See if I can. It's going to let me do it. Sometimes it doesn't. Nope, it's not going to let me do it. Alright, so best way to do this then, drag text into what you think is the center. And then double click to edit your text. Alright, this is way too small. So we need to select our text, go to 0.35. I seem to like 0.35, really your choice. There we go. I have my name set up right there. Alright, we're going to finish the sketch, which is a green check mark at the top. Finishing the sketch just exits you out of sketch mode so you can create some depth to the object. Alright, so how do you create depth? You go over to this command called Extrude. It's under the Create tab, and as you can see as I hover over it, it shows you a description of what Extrude is. Simplest way, it gives you some depth to the object. It creates a sketch into an object. So we're going to go over to Extrude and extrude this object so we can actually have it, like we can physically use it. And it's going to load up, and boom. There we go. As you can see, there's a keyhole. The hole is extruded, but it's not. There's nothing in there. The reason is I haven't selected that sketch. I've only selected one profile of the sketch, and that's the rectangle, excluding that circle that we drew. So let's go into this, and we don't want it 1 inch. It's really, really thick. We're gonna go over to 0.25 inches. Alright, as you can see, our text has disappeared because our sketch is no longer visible. Also, I'm going to edit the extrusion so that it goes backwards so that we can see the text on the front when I make the sketch visible again. To edit anything in Inventor, after you've done it, go over to the side panel over here, or toolbar, and you can double click it and it'll open up what you can edit. Or you can right click, it'll say edit, stuff like that. And where did our sketch go? It's under the extrusion right now. So you go into the extrusion and you see that there's a sketch here. And as I hover over it, it becomes visible to signify that there is indeed a sketch. So how do I make it visible? Well, I'll right click. So I don't want to edit it. Edit it means I have to double click it. So I'm going to right click, and there should be an option that says visibility. And in that, it'll have a check mark next to it if it's visible. If not, then it won't. As you can see, it's right here, visibility. And it doesn't have a check mark next to it, meaning it's not visible, which is why we can't see it on top of our surface. Alright, so we'll enable visibility. Alright, now we can see the visibility, which is nice because this is next thing we're going to be working with is extruding this name. So let's do that. Or you can always use the emboss tool, which we could do it right now, or we could use extrude. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to use emboss because this is what you mostly will use for text. So if I wanted to emboss something, what it does, it'll create, if you want it to be protruding out of the object, then you have it embossed up, and if you want it to be in the object, like a carving, say, then you would all do a negative emboss. So it's gonna raise or it's gonna go in. As you can see, there are some items here. This one is raised. This one is engraved. So this is raised, engraved, carve. So it'll go in. I like engraved better than it coming out, so protruding out. So I don't like that. So we're gonna go here, and it's gonna ask us to select our profile or text. We need to select our text. So let's just go over here, select our text, and we need it to be direction 2. Depth will be, there's only one solid, so it's not asking us to click a solid. But if there was a solid, there was multiple solids, then it would ask us to click a solid. But we don't need to worry about that. Depth 0.1 inches. Click OK, and let it load. And I'm going to make it not visible so we can see that it's actually embossed. So again, same thing. Go over to under the extrude. You'll see sketch 1. Right click, disable visibility, and look at that. There's an inlet. You can emboss it as much as you want. I did 0.1 inches if you didn't notice, and I forgot to mention that. So I did 0.1 inches in the negative direction, which there is an arrow with a plane. You're going to click the arrow points from behind the plane. So that's the one. I'll go back in and I'll show you how that looks. Alright, so as you can see, if I did it outward, then it would like come outward, and now they want to do that. So we're going to click this. It has an arrow sticking out of the back of the plane, meaning it's going to go in the negative direction. Our depth is 0.1 because that's how much we want it to be carved in. Alright, so you could do anything you want. 0.1 should be your reasonable amount. You could extend it out or carve it in, your choice. I like carving it. Alright, so I'm going to load this again. It's going to load up again. Alright, now that it's loaded, we can see that there are a lot of sharp edges along the edge of this object. That's not great because it doesn't look great, and neither is it that great when you hold the object. So we're going to use this tool called fillet or fillet, whatever you like to call it. So when we fillet an object, it basically smooths the edge out, so it feels better to look at and hold. So as you can see in the diagram, when I hover over it, it's smoothing out the edges. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go over to fillets, and let's do some fillets. Alright, so we're going to do the back first. It matters kind of the order that you do it in, or else the fillets will be different. So we're going to do the back. It's going to load in each time I click a side, so yeah. Alright, let's continue. Alright, so now that I have all these filleted, I need a dimension. What dimension? We want it at 0.25 inches to have a nice smooth surface in the back. And so it's perfectly level, or perfectly, like, I don't know, smooth to the front edge. Alright, so we're going to do this and click OK. We're going to make 2 more fillets, and we're going to do it in a certain order. So the next one will have, as you can see, there are these edges, the ones that are being highlighted in red as I hover over them. These are the edges that you can see that are sharp. still. So we're going to fillet those to make them smooth. Alright, let's go over to the fillet tool again. Alright. Let's click each one of these sharp edges that we do not want at all. As it loads up, and load that. You're probably gonna have it faster than me at the moment, but not a big deal. I am unable to click that. Alright, so you're just going to click those 4 edges. 0.25 is your fillet radius. You will click enter and there you go. Alright. Oh no, I just canceled the... okay. I'm going to go in and edit the fillet because the last edge did not select. So we're going to go and edit the fillet. There's no problem with that. Just double click, go in, select the edge you want, and click OK. There we go. Now our back is really smooth, but if we flip over to our front with our view cube, which you can play around with the view cube a little because kind of how you get used to it, just drag it and click random stuff on the view cube. Okay, as you can see, the front side is very still sharp, so we don't want that. So we're going to go over to fillet again, and we're going to go with the radius of 0.05, and this is very important. As you can see right now, it's not letting me do a fillet at 0.25 inches. The reason is Autodesk Inventor doesn't want the fillet to interfere with any other components of the object. So it might be interfering with the other fillets, it might be interfering with the hole we created, things like that. So if it interferes with anything, Autodesk Inventor will not carry the fillet. We're going to go with 0.05. Reason is this is the fillet that works and it doesn't interfere with anything else. Alright, that's how you create a name tag. And how do you save it, because we do need to save like a work. You can use Control S or Command S on Mac, and it'll open your file explorer. You will save it as whatever you want, wherever you want. Alright, that's it.